This is the Unachieved Podcast, episode 352.
Nice client of mine, CEO, said, Nigel, I know that when I die, my to-do list will be full. Not empty, full.
Yeah.
All that stuff never ends. And guess what? No one's going to notice. The tide will still come in and go out. So you have to be concentrating on stuff that you're talking about. And that doesn't mean you haven't got to work hard and do things that are boring. You have, but just have an aim. In 10 years' time, Greg is going to look back. Are you going to be happy with how you spent the 10 years?
G'day. This is the Unachieved Podcast, episode 352. And our guest today is Nigel Marsh, former CEO of Burnett and Y&R Brands, viral TED talker, founder of Earth Hour, best-selling author and podcaster on following your own path to achieve balance, getting cut through and authentic success. I am your host, Greg Layton, founder of Chiefmaker and the Council of Chiefs. I believe there is a great chief in all of us, and that through listening to the stories, strategies and techniques of great CEOs and gurus, each of you can find and leave your own legacy through your work and life. The Inner Chief podcast is where you will learn how to think and make moves like a CEO, like a true chief. For over a decade, I've helped CEOs and senior executives around the world boldly lead change, inspire their people, and leave a legacy. On the Inner Chief podcast, I bring these stories to life with deep diving CEO interviews, interspersed with minisodes covering key leadership challenges, so you will find your own path to greatness as an executive. In this episode, I chat to Nigel Marsh. He is the former national CEO of Darcy and Leo Burnett, regional group CEO of Y&R Brands, and the chairman of strategic and research consultancy, The Leading Edge. Alongside his 30-plus years experience in business leadership roles, he has pursued a number of creative ventures, including writing 4 best-selling books, Fat, 40 and Fired, Overworked and Underlaid, Fit 50 and Fired Up, and Smart, Stupid and 60. He's the co-founder of the global environmental initiative Earth Hour, founding the Sydney Skinny and creating the 5 of My Life podcast. His TED speech on work-life balance, with nearly 6 million views, remains the most watched ever outside of the US. In today's masterclass, Nigel will share why you should stop following the masses and rather seek balance by treading your own path. Now, he has done that incredibly well. That clarity of purpose is the most fundamental pillar of any business, and he also shows how to do it in a really simple way. How he got cut through in launching Earth Hour globally, and how you can use that in your marketing and communications, and using reflection to achieve authentic success in your life and career. Chiefs, without further ado, let's hear from the wonderful Nigel Marsh. Right, Chiefs, I'm here with the one and only Nigel Marsh, former CEO, board chair, best-selling author of Fat, 40 and Fired, host of the 5 of My Life podcast and TED Talk, presenter with over 5 million views. These days, a strategic advisor. Nigel, what an absolute pleasure to have you on The Inner Chief.
Well, I've already enjoyed the pre-chat, mate, so I'm looking forward to the actual interview.
You know, one of the things that I think in my very few interactions with you, which I really love, is that you walk your own path, sometimes contrarian, but that's your great gift. And today, I think that'll be a lot of our example or our theme is, how do you walk a congruent, contrarian or your own path and still live in a world that's all about conformity? We have a great tradition, Nigel. We love our chiefs to tell us a bit about where they've come from. Can you tell a bit of a story about, well, that sort of sums up your childhood and early life?
Gosh, I told my wife you were going to ask me that, and she said, is it a 7-hour show? Okay, I've written 4 books crapping on about myself, so you'll just cut me off if it gets too boring. So the one that I would choose is, I was sent to boarding school in another country at the age of 5.
Wow.
Not parenting that I would recommend. And I arrived in this school by myself with my little shorts, and I had a green naval suitcase because my dad was in the Navy. And a very stern woman said to me, "Go to the dormitory, put on your games kit, and report to the lower paddock." So I asked where the dormitory was and was shown, opened my suitcase, and my mum, God love her, who wasn't that happy sending her 5-year-old boy away to another country, to a school run by a paedophile, but that's in the book. And I opened the suitcase, and inside she labelled all these things, pajamas.
Yeah.
And tuck box, and just labelled because her little boy's going to be away for 14 weeks, and there was a label, games kit.
Oh,
Right. So I put my games kit on, and then I asked where lower paddock was, and I went to the lower paddock, which was basically a rugby field, and there was 180 boys in a semicircle facing the headmaster, who I can't name, Robin Lindsay, who was a paedophile. Anyway, and there. And he goes, "Marsh," because you were called by your last name. "Marsh, what's that underneath your shirt?" And I go, "My other shirt." And he goes, "What's that underneath your shorts?" And I go, "It's my other shorts." And "What's that under your socks?" "It's my other socks." And he then goes, so this is a 5-year-old who has just arrived from America, unaccompanied, and has put on his games kit because he was told to put his games kit on. And he goes, "Marsh obviously feels the cold, ha, ha, ha," and leads the school in a round of humiliating mocking as it is revealed that I have put my games kit on over my uniform. There you go. So I mean, there's 10 billion stories I could tell you about this. That might kick you off.
the beginning of that is a really hard start when you think about it. How many?
Yes, no, it's suboptimal, mate. I tell you.
Yeah, I think I might have a 5-year-old now, and it's even getting her to drop her at school. For my boys, it's such a precious age.
So can you imagine not seeing your girl 14 weeks?
Oh man.
Yeah, and the very first thing that happened. So that was the first thing that happened. So at that age, you go, "Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, that's it. I'm on my own. There's no love or support, or this is the Wild West. I'll hunt it down." Yeah.
How do you think that time shaped you as you've grown up?
Well, it's interesting. I think I've got lots of stuff bottled in, and I think repression gets a bad press. So I don't want to open the box because it's working for me
Right now
to be repressed. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm sure a qualified person would go, "Holy crap, mate, you need 60 years of therapy," and I haven't got 60 years left, so I'm not going to try. But I think it breeds sort of resilience, sense of humor, distrust of authority.
Yeah.
The bloke that was doing that, it wasn't the bully from year 6. It was the headmaster.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. You're the bloke I'd be complaining to, but you're doing it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So let's fast forward a bit, Nigel. What was your first ever job?
My first job, anyone who's listening who's familiar with the UK, was in a petrol station on the A303, which is one of the major roads that comes out of London, night shift. So I would sit by myself, cycle to this petrol station, and I think I started at 9 at night and ended at 7, and just pitch black. So it was the time. It got awful. I used to drink and smoke all the profits, right? So I'd be sitting behind the counter, and there's all these fags behind you, and you're bored senseless, right? And have a coke, right? Thinking, we're not making any money. We're thinking, Marsh, and then it gets to the stage where someone would pull in at 3 a.m. and go. And these are the days when you'd actually help them fill up the car and blah blah.
Yeah.
And then you go, kind of a, could you fill her up? And I'd go, really? I'm in the middle of my book. Anyway, so that was my first job. It was just
It was my first job.
Oh, no way.
Yep, pumping fuel on a driveway in Brisbane on a main road.
At night or the day shift?
Both, but mainly day, but into the evenings up to like 9 p.m.
I'm not sure they would allow it now because you go, you got a little young boy.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, if a bloke had come in with a gun or a knife and said, give me all the cash, I'd say, help yourself.
We did get robbed one night. I got robbed one night he wasn't armed, but me and the mechanic ended up getting in an almighty scuffle with this guy. And then we wouldn't leave it. As we were in this scuffle, this guy was a huge islander guy. Like, he would have made me look like a little kid, I was only about 16 or 17. And me and the mechanic are wrestling this guy. And as we're wrestling him, you wouldn't let the police drive past. And they just brought the car straight in, pulled up. He went, oh my God, he started running. It was like something out of The Simpsons. As he starts running off, the boss, who was a mechanic, grabs a hold of his shorts and they rip off him. And he jumps over the fence, and all you see is this bare ass just disappear over the fence as he rolls into someone's yard. And then the dog squad came and they got him. But very tricky. Great memories, but some moments there. And your first ever car?
Oh, mate, I'm loving these questions. So, are you familiar with the Citroen 2CV?
Not specifically that model, no.
You must be. It's the old classic French car that has the gear stick that comes out of and it's got a 600cc engine, which is less than most lawnmowers.
Yes.
And lights, you can do 2 clips and roll the canvas roof.
Oh, I think I know the one. Yeah. I do.
So my parents had that car, and they drove it into the ground for 12 years, right? And then my brother the car was passed down to my brother, who drove it into the ground even further for 5 years. And then it was handed to me. Now, mate, I'm going, this is a Ferrari. I had to push it started every morning. It leaked. It would top speed was 40, 45, right? But it was my car. That literally, I mean, I drove it until it actually, again, like The Simpsons, it sort of fell apart in almost like a cartoony way, sort of stopped, steam, all 4 wheels fall off.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great car. We've never had that model of all the cars we've had. Never had that one, that is for sure. Now, look, let's fast forward a bit and get into some meat and bones here. You've enjoyed a 30-plus career, marketing, strategy, communications, CEO and chairman at Darcy, Leo Burnett, Y&R Brands, Leading Edge. These organisations, for those in that industry, are famous. Win awards after awards after awards, and you've got this track record of every time you turn up somewhere, things get transformed and you go to new levels. I'm getting to the question. The agencies, and there are tens of thousands of agencies around the world, tens of thousands of professional services businesses that rely on creativity as a source of their greatness. But you've been able to multiple times now improve the performance of these businesses. The question is, what is the difference that makes the difference between those businesses?
Yeah. The question first, have you read a book called The Halo Effect?
No.
Okay, wonderful book, business book, where what it does is it warns you against victor's wisdom. Mm. So you are correct. I am lucky. I've had some success in my career. But when you read a book from Jack Welch or Churchill or whatever else, once they've succeeded, they attributed to a bunch of stuff that actually had fuck all to do with why it actually was successful. So the first thing I'd say, so I could invent a whole bunch of reasons because agency of the year and double profits and all that stuff, right? But the first thing to acknowledge is luck, right? So luck, I'm lucky. There you go. The second thing is quality of people. And in half the cases, that won't be down to me. It would be I arrived and some clever person had hired some good people. I mean, I then may have hired some good people. And then thinking about how I would answer this question, because there's a multitude of factors, and I love this. I love sort of the subject of good leadership and bad leadership. Is I'm a bit of a clarity junkie, and I would say I've set up a consultancy where the tagline is clarity, alignment, momentum, and people seem in the main to want to start at the wrong end. They want to start with momentum. Let's just do something. Let's get, and it looks good. You go, no. Let's get some clarity first around two things. Clarity of structure, which is really unfashionable now, right? I think there's three things that people want in any job. They want to know who they report to, what's expected of them, and get some regular feedback. And these days, you're in an organization, we're a flat structure. No one's got an office. Who do you report to? Oh, him, her. Oh, it's a dotted line matrix. And you go, you do you, I don't care. For me, I'm the boss. Dave reports to me. Sue reports to Dave. And off we go. You go, everyone, if I say, who do you report to? They don't have to think. They know it's Greg. And Greg tells me every month how I'm doing, and I know what's expected of me. Anyway, so clarity.
That's who I go to.
Yeah, clarity of structure. And then, and I've worked with Simon Sinek and blah, 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 and I don't want to pour shade on anybody, but I'm going to use a word that makes me sick, right? But I use it in the way that I mean it. Yeah. Clarity of purpose. Now, purpose doesn't have to mean, and in most cases it won't mean, solving climate change, bringing peace to the Middle East, and curing cancer, right? It's clarity of purpose. And you sit down, you go, why are we here? Everyone from the shop floor to the board says the same answer, right? And that is very, very rare, Greg. That's very, very rare. And what people tend to do is they shy away from their core purpose. And when I say purpose, I mean making a good car or running a good set of hotels that guests like staying in. Really boring stuff that isn't going to send you to heaven, but it is your job. So then if you've got a team and you go, I'm really clear, I mean, make it up in the ones that I run. Nigel is the boss, right? And he's got these people that report to him and I report to them.
Yep.
And our job, because we're a little Australian company, isn't to be the revenue engine of the global company, because we could be.
Yep.
To do the very best creative work that the world has ever seen. Right. Is everyone clear that's what it is? Right. Off we go. Now, then you've got half a chance that it might work. Or you go somewhere, I've gone somewhere where I sort of did the reverse, where a company had, it got above itself. I don't want to use any names, but so it sort of thought it was a management consultancy, whoppity whop. You go, you're a research company, and that's a really valuable, noble thing to be. So let's not pretend we're something we're not. You see, so you just a bit of clarity, dust everything off and go, let's be clear. That's the hill we're going to run up. If you have any questions, I'll be in the lead tank. Right, now off we go.
Yeah. This has been something that in the last, I think, couple of years has become really, really evident in my discussions with clients, is this drifting away from core business.
Right.
Right. And how do we get the business to focus on this really quite singular kind of purpose and the engine that will let us breathe, right, give us some cash so we can actually grow this thing? How do you go about helping an executive or group of people tightening in? Because one of the best philosophies I've ever heard, or might have been a line, said strategy is as much about what you don't do as about what you do. Yeah. Right? Because you say, choose that hill. We're not choosing all the hills, just one hill. How do you go about helping executives? Or is there a question they can ask themselves that might guide them to a better place?
Yeah, so it's easier when you're in charge, right? So this, I know it's not an answer people want to hear, but when I'm running it,
yep,
I'll tell you. Now, I mean, and I'm not being, nicely, and I'll ask people, I'll join and then listen to people and then go, look. So it seems to me that we've got this bit confused. We're opening offices in Singapore and New York, and we think we're a management consultancy, purposey, strategy house. I think we're an Australian research company. So genuinely, safe space, pipe up if you think I've got that wrong, right? And you listen. And then some people do think you've got it wrong, then that's fine. And you listen and you think, no, I think I'm right. So then what I'm going to do, without any apologies or nastiness, is actually we are going to do this. And that will mean, making this up.
Yep.
There will be a Singapore office, and we're not going to have a head of, flower arranging. We're going to have our business there. So set the strategy, own the strategy, communicate it, over communicate. When I coach clients, I challenge them to over communicate, and it's actually really hard to do. It's really hard to over communicate on your purpose. So if you're in charge, just don't be a scaredy cat. Own it. And if people say a whole bunch of stuff about diversity, or you're a shampoo company and you've got some idiotic mission statement about helping humans interact. No, it's cleaning hair. Come on, let's grow up, right? Is not deny the secondary things. When you're running up the hill and you know what the hill is, that can enable you to be kind and nice and diverse and hopefully make shampoo that doesn't destroy the planet. But you're clear on the primary higher order purpose. Yeah. So thing one, if you're in charge, just own it and do it. That is your job. You've got to step up, pull on your big boy pants or big girl pants and do it. It's really, really hard if you aren't in charge. It just is. You got a bunch of Muppets above you. I have. I don't want to upset your listeners, but I suspect that two of the most useful characteristics for succeeding in corporations are the capacity to confidently talk rubbish and the willingness to accept orders from idiots. And that will actually get you quite a long way. And you go, right. So if you're a junior person and the CEO says, oh, we don't just do shampoo, we enhance human interactions. And you say, mate, that sounds like total specious bollocks. You'll probably get fired.
Probably. Yeah.
So,
might be a good company to get fired from, though.
Yeah. Well. So yeah. That's right.
This is a topic that is close to my heart right now. There's a little line that we've been using a bit more lately in our coaching, and it is, don't forget that leaders lead. And I think there is an over collaboration and over let's make decisions by broad committee. And I think it might be because of fear or lack of capability, or maybe they have been taught too much those two skills you just mentioned and forget that, there is a better life and a better strategy and a better leadership if you just forge your own path and show the way. Now, I want to get your opinion on this analogy I've seen posted quite a lot, and it's a picture of a pack of wolves from an aerial view going through a snowy forest, and it says, "This is leadership. The leader is at the back, protecting the weak who are about to die, and the other people show the way." And the people are like, what an incredible analogy for leadership. And I thought, actually, I can punch a lot of holes in that. If all those other people absolutely have clarity on the way forward and are really good, that there might be one little bit of that. Wolves know the way. That's the problem. I can see by looking in your eyes and your face, you disagree with this analogy as well.
Well, I've never heard such bullshit in all my life. And what I would say, if I was attempting to try and, as the Americans say, build on that analogy, you go, right, my men and women need to see me up front taking the first bullet. I am walking the walk, I'm taking the thing, so I am going to be the first bloke into the forest. Sorry, I'm not saying I'm a hero, but as in injecting in this situation, right? And it is important that we look after the weak. So I will deputize my most trusted, skillful, caring, efficient, productive, strong deputy, so I've got it both covered, right? But what are you doing at the back? That's just ridiculous. And leading doesn't, if you lead how I am suggesting, that doesn't mean that you don't listen and you're not empathetic and you're not collaborative. Life goes in stages. That's why it's about clarity, alignment, momentum. You go, so me, I love the notion of, if I was in a new executive team, I sit down and go, right, Greg, what are the big issues we face? What's our purpose? I listen to you properly. And then I listen to the CFO, I listen to blah, 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 and then I check that I understand, and then I listen again, and then you go, right, from all those inputs that were genuine inputs, I didn't have a coming in point answer, but I've now developed one and I want to road test it with you.
Yeah.
And you go, yeah, okay, I want to amend it a little bit. Now it's this. Now what I'd like you to do is shut up and implement it rather than second guessing it and having purpose strategy days for the rest of, if you do it well, you don't need to do it every year. If you are Delta Airlines or BMW or whatever, and you understand what you are, then the really undervalued skill is actually delivering on it.
Yeah. And staying
all the time delivering on it rather than, it can be quite a convenient hiding place. So I'm a massive fan of diversity and all that sort of stuff. But you go, yeah, but if you're the most diverse, whatever, you've ticked all the currently fashionable boxes, but you make a bad motor car and your staff are demotivated and your customers, you go, well, there's all, you've ignored the important things.
Yeah. Fantastic. Chief, one of the biggest challenges in all leadership roles is how to influence stakeholders. The difficult, the easy, the elusive, all sorts of stakeholders, board members, executive teams, clients, suppliers, the media, the community. And if you want the definitive guide on how to think about it, how to set yourself up and prepare for it, how to run through and map your stakeholders, and how to finally influence with integrity, go to chiefmaker.com/stakeholder for a fully editable PDF guide on mastering stakeholder influence. That's chiefmaker.com/stakeholder. Nigel, let's shift gears or use a vehicle analogy. Take a different road, maybe the road less travelled. Can you tell us a bit about the nexus of Earth Hour and how that could turn into a movement?
Yes, I can. Gosh. So I get asked a lot about this. To try and think about things that might be helpful to your audience. Three things that made that a success, and had no guarantee it would be a success. So this is me looking retrospectively because it was a huge success. So the first thing is keeping it simple. So my idea was we would turn the lights out for 1 hour. At the moment, we were working with WWF, not the wrestling, the environment people, and Fairfax, and an agency I used to run, Burnett. So you go, there's an idea pinging around that 1 hour. And then from the moment that's raised, very well-intentioned, intelligent people trying to build on it, change it, make it different. Maybe it shouldn't be an hour, it should be a day. Maybe it shouldn't just be turning the lights out, it should be not using water. Maybe, which is completely natural. And you go, a ferocious, tyrannical desire to go, no, it's just an hour. Yeah? And, is it just for left-wing people? Or is it just for right-wing people? Is it just for Australia? You go, no. It's if you're a human being, you turn your light out on this day. So thing one, I'm back to clarity. I'm good on clarity. You go, that's what it is. If you want to do Earth Day or Earth Week or whatever, knock yourself out. This is Earth Hour. Really, really clear. And it will save full carbon emissions. It's not about what it will save on the hour. It's a symbol, right? So I'm really clear. Other people go, how many polar bears or how many tons of carbon dioxide? No, you've missed it. You've missed it. It's like Valentine's Day. It's not going to save a bad relationship, but it might be something that reminds you to check in on you. So totally clear. The second thing is we did a top-down and bottom-up approach at the same time. So I was there with Kevin Rudd and Kate Blanchett counting down, the lights in Sydney going out live on the news. So that's all woo, high profile. But the local primary school, the local cafe was having candles. So it was a grassroots movement at the same time as we had, Google reskinned their page for the day, and we had celebrities and all that crap. And then the third thing, the reality is, we had the partnership and support of the media company. Yeah. So no one would have bloody heard of it, but Fairfax put it on the front page of the Sydney, they counted it down, front page of the Sydney Morning Herald for 100 days, blah, blah, blah. So looking back, those are the three things. But the one, if you ask me the most important, it's back to the clarity. And you can use that as an analogy for firms, for organizations. If you were to ask people, because I was a nutter about it, what's Earth Hour? They would repeat what I have told them 600 times. Yeah. There's no chance of a bit confused. What day is it on? Why are we doing it? And it involved an action. It's really important. It wasn't just say something. You had to, with a finger, turn a light switch off type thing. There was a really simple thing that was clearly understood. So then people can get behind it. Now you said in a very unconvinced way.
No, I'm not unconvinced. I'm just going back to, I'm playing from my mind the importance of that simplicity when you're going to so many people with so many different understandings and language barriers and social environments, and going, if it wasn't that simple, there's no way you would have had a school teacher in Far North Queensland, community leader in inner city Sydney, and a car dealership in Melbourne, all getting this right.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, interesting. So look, Nigel, for the first half of your career, mate, you lived the executive high life, man. You worked, you played hard, you travelled, you worked your ass off, but then it all sort of came to an end. You decided that it was time to change. What happened that caused you to go down this journey of re-evolution?
Yeah, so, gosh, there's a very distinct, identifiable thing that happened, and I've written a couple of books about this, but there's a sort of there's a falsehood within it. So here we go. Poor revelation on Greg's show. So there was a merger, and I lost my job. That's the big deal. But I lost my job in sort of unfortunate circumstances because I was doing well, the firm was doing well, and I was just sort of collateral damage. You get the worldwide.
Got a big one, see, I can't have two.
Yeah, and so no complaints, but it wasn't like I lost my job because I was doing badly and the firm went bust. It was because global merger, other side of the world, and love it. And I had recently relocated a young family from England to Australia. I'd never been to Australia before. So I had no friends or family in the country, and I was an alcoholic. I was overweight and blah, blah, blah. And I read I'm a theologian. I read a phrase saying, "Pause for a moment, you wretched weakling, and take stock of your miserable existence." And long story short, I did. I thought, actually, I don't want the second half of my life to be a pale imitation of my first. I am going to change everything about my life. I'm just everything. So I haven't had a drink since. I'm not fat, and I don't run an ad agency. So I followed through, and not as easy as it sounds, but it isn't as simple as ad wanker loses his job, becomes a priest. I studied theology at university. I've always been thinking, what's the point? What is the point? Now because exactly as you say, because I was lucky enough to keep on, I was mildly successful. I kept on progressing. That progression can sort of feed can keep you satisfied. You go, well, I don't really know what the point of this is, but I'm running fast and I'm succeeding. But then if you take away the succeeding, and the truth is, the firm offered me another job. Yeah. You go, so I could have hopped back on I needn't have left the hamster wheel.
Yes.
So I looked at it and thought, you know what? No, I'm gonna, and it's really interesting because now in conversations like this, it is impossible to explain how risky it was to do what I did because it's worked out. Then, mate, I hadn't written a book, done a speech, run any of those firms that you've just mentioned. That was all post. I went back into the corporate world in la la la. So I took a huge leap of faith based around clarity. You go, I absolutely know I don't want to dedicate the next 40 years of my life climbing up any corporate ladder. I don't. I want to be a good father, a good husband, enjoy my life, and off we go. And then other things, when I'm running up that hill, will have to fit in behind that I'm doing that. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. It makes sense.
But I tell you what's the real lesson, which is really scary, is so would you have done it, Nigel, if you hadn't lost your job? And the answer is probably no.
Probably no.
And I'll be sitting here, a divorced, fat, alcoholic, but going, ooh, I run a really big firm. We just opened an office in New York. So, I hope I would have, but mate, I wasn't that clever. Something happened. I responded, I think, intelligently to something that happened. So other people just leapt back in because it was scary with 4 young kids to say, I'm going to vote for unemployment. I have to sell the car, move home. But would I have done it if instead of, if they did the merger and they said, actually, Nigel, and in which case we're going to double your pay and promote you.
Yep.
I'd have probably gone, thank you.
Yeah.
So
you said at the beginning of this story, there was a falsehood. Is that?
So the falsehood, so I've had film people buy the film rights and they all want to make the narrative very simple. But I've been thinking about it the whole time. It's almost like I was waiting for an opportunity.
Yeah. Which I wonder if that is the second half of your quandary. Would this have happened if you hadn't lost your job? Yeah. Given you've had this whole life of what is the point?
Yeah.
Of this whole thing, right? But what on earth are we here for?
And that's right.
I wonder if eventually it would have gnawed away at you enough that you would have.
Yeah. And I talk. I mean, I've had over 30,000 letters. I've got them in a filing cabinet in my study from people who write to me about a whole bunch of stuff because of my books, sex, relationships, blah, 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 but also their careers. And one of I think it's part of the reason why my TED speech, resonated is there are lots of people that leave it a bit late. Now, obviously, if you've got to do what you've got to do to look after your loved ones. And so I get it. If you've got to work 3 jobs and if you don't, your kids will starve. Well, then you should work those 3 jobs and stop complaining and just work them. But if you know people in your circle, given your line of work, Greg, people who have actually got it sorted, they've got to a level of success. And if they don't like doing what they're doing, I know a lawyer, I shouldn't laugh, it's not funny, who drives to work and is in tears half the time. All right? And I go, mate, resign. The kids have left home, you paid off the mortgage, you resign. But he's left it too late and he thinks, but then who will I be? He hasn't attended to the garden. It's scary. You go, so you're sort of trapped on this life where, so it's, yeah.
And what the good thing is, having worked with, like yourself, a lot of chiefs over the years, the key moment that a lot of them have, the ones I got that look like they now have their cake and are eating it too. Almost all of them have had this sort of mini retirement that you had. This, because you had 12 months from memory, 12 months. And I'm just thinking retrospectively now at all the ones that have had some level of time to just decompress and get off that hamster wheel.
Yeah.
A huge number have had gardening leave at 6 months and they've gone. And then it allows them to reconnect to self, because when the speed is on, those little voices and that little gnawing away at you, what's the point? There's no airspace or airtime for them. Like, there's no radio time for them to get in the air. But when everything slows down, up it comes. And they tend to find a new path. I think the challenge is when you're on the hamster wheel and it is pace and it's work and it's life and it's parenting. Oh, I wouldn't mind some fitness too. You and I have a shared belief about is life balance possible for most people. And have you ever done the thing where you say to someone, okay, I want you to write down, just create a spreadsheet and write all the things that you want to do in your life that is life balance. And what I want you to do is then write down how many hours per week you need to do that. Make sure you add in sleep and going to bed, and make sure you add in things for toilet, teeth, and all this kind of stuff. Because all that takes time. I've never had someone do that and add up the hours, and the hours equal anything like the number of hours in a week. Their unconscious formula for life balance is impossible.
Yeah.
Right? So they'll never be happy. So your book talks about life balance you're on this journey of now a very different kind of life. What did you learn about balance?
Oh gosh, I get hired to give 2-hour speeches about this. It is, how can I say this? That the big mistake is focusing through the wrong end of the telescope, and there are a lot of charlatans out there giving very, very bad, damaging advice, where they are giving advice on productivity and efficiency. And it makes me angry, which is why my speeches tend to be a certain type, where you go, if you've got, I did this, I was talking to 6,000 people in Austin, Texas, where you go, so if I could they hired me on management, and I stood up and I said, do you know what, you've hired the wrong bloke. I know for a fact, if I could make you 2 hours a day more efficient at your job, so you could do your job 2 hours quicker, you just do 2 hours more work. And they all stood up and applauded. So let's cut the crap. Right. Do your emails whilst you're sitting on the loo, do voicemail, all this productivity stuff. If you haven't sorted it out, you could follow some of the people you talk about work-life balance and make it tangibly worse, because I make you more efficient at doing work. And some people, and Greg, this is a tough message, right? The old theologian coming out, is they're scared of being happy and they're scared of balance, right? So if you are to ask me, don't tell me, Nigel, are you balanced? I go, yeah, mate, after this, I'm walking down to the beach and going for a swim. Now, what I should be saying, because your audience wants to hear that I'm a big swinging dick, is, oh no, I'm so busy. Oh my God, I've got all these things on, right? Is you go, so to someone, it's just not done. You go for it. My motivation is to earn a fortune working part-time doing something I love. No, Nigel, scrap that. You can't say that. You go, well, that's what I do. We define fortune, but so I suppose what I'm saying is get real. And it's about reflection. And when I coach people and talk to people, is just pretend we've had proper sessions and I've got to know you, your hopes and your dreams, your relationships. And what is most important to you, a bit like, I don't know, Rupert Murdoch or something, is that you have the most money when you die and you have the biggest construction company. Great. It's not me forcing my lifestyle on other people, but just as long as that is what you want. And that's fine. You can be divorced 3 times, not know your kids' names, and you'd have lots of money in the grave. And genuinely, that's fine. It's the reflection. Exactly the point that you were making earlier is, do you know what? I can save you lots of money on books and conferences and courses by not working out. Get up at 5 o'clock, use this app. Fuck that, right? Sit down, think about what type of man does Greg want to be? What type of legacy does he want to leave? And what type of life does he want to lead? And then, a bit like you're doing the hours, you go, is there any chance that you're going to do the things that you just said? Is there any, right? And if there isn't, here comes the difficult thing. We might have to change something. Now, just pretend you are a long-distance lorry driver. And what's most important to you in your life authentically is taking your kids to primary school every day. You are in the wrong job because you are a long distance lover. If you are a global CEO that has to travel 90 hours a week, it's just reality. But don't, you haven't got to be a hippie. You haven't got to be Rupert Murdoch. Just reflect about the type of life that you want and then have a think. And age, how old are you, Greg?
44.
Perfect, right? Is these conversations, I don't have these with my kids who are between 20 and 29.
Right.
Basically, shorthand, I say work very, very hard, don't complain, and come and see me in 10 years' time, right? So I'm talking about people, if you are 44, you are allowed to have a think about the type of bloke you're going to be.
That's right. I just think from our own personal experience of running this business, this has been one of the great lessons for us, is the less we have worked and the more we worked on the valuable stuff, the more successful the business has been. And the fitness and the happiness and the reflection and the working on, this is a little rabbit hole I wanted to go down with you, on the deep work of what is going to be a great contribution for your career. And if you're only working on at the pace of what's got to be done this week or in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and that's your goal, you will always be focused on the operator mode. And operator mode is different to what we call chief mode, because chief mode is saying, I've got 5-10 years here. What am I going to build over 5 or 10 years? Because that is a different level of thing. And when you start working on the big things, it allows you to start getting rid of the small stuff that never turns a dial anyway. And you stress over shit that's never going to make the company money or it's not really going to save much cost. So it's this working at a different timeline. The work of Cal Newport and deep work, I don't know if you've said his work, is just really valuable. And I want more and more chiefs and people just to think like this.
And an analogy, you mentioned the wolf analogy on the looking at your life. And this, I have to be careful who you say this to, because for some people it's pretentious. But if you think of your life as a work of art, okay, so it's a canvas, it's a painting, and not a drawing that you can rub out. It's a painting, right? And when you cark it, the painting will be shown, right? You think, oh, okay, I get it, right? So what work of art? Your life is a work of art. What painting are you doing? Now you go, there's going to be a busy bit here. There are going to be lots of mistakes. That's all part of it. That's lovely. But your overview, you're looking down at this painting. And if it's just one thing running around very, very busy doing something, you might be missing a trick. And a nice client of mine, CEO, said, Nigel, I know that when I die, my to-do list will be full. Not empty, full.
Yeah.
All that stuff never ends. And guess what? No one's going to notice. The tide will still come in and go out. You run a firm and you leave and you think, oh gosh, how's the factory still going to work? Trust me, fine without you. So you have to be concentrating on stuff that you're talking about. And that doesn't mean you haven't got to work hard and do things that are boring. And you have, but just have an aim. In 10 years' time, Greg is going to look back. Are you going to be happy with how you spent the 10 years?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, how does someone actually approach this? Do I need to just say, is it for a week now, if I disappear, it's not really going to matter. People are certain that if they don't, the world will fall apart without them. It's like when they leave a job, they think, oh my God, the company's never going to survive. 2 weeks later, everyone's forgotten your name. Who's that Nigel go? So is it this realization that it's all going to be okay if you just take a step back for a minute? And if something's really going to fall over, guess what's going to happen? It'll get raised.
Yeah. So this is something that leads to my speaking work and my writing, where I feel in 90% of cases, the thing that leads to the proper reflection is one of the big four: death, disease, divorce, redundancy. Okay.
Yeah.
And that happened for me, redundancy. Is what I'm on a bit of a mission to do is, can you, by saying something, someone listening to this interview or reading my books or whatever else, can you be the catalyst that makes someone do that reflection?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because wouldn't it be great if you didn't have to wait for death, disease, divorce, or redundancy to get, so all the time you hear someone say, oh gosh, my wife left me and I thought, hold on, I've been down the wrong path. She was right to, because or my best friend committed suicide. So I thought, so it's something smack in the face makes you think, hold on, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah. What's the point?
Yeah. And you go, well, it's kind of, I don't want to turn everyone into, Ushanti, hippies walking around overthinking things, but you go, do you know what? I think and I advise people, I go, just have a bath, have a think, and it's got to be the right time. You got to be the right age. I wouldn't say this to a 23-year-old. I'd say go to New York and fill your boots, right? But if you come to me, so if you've come to me, then we already have a signal that you're thinking, right? It's like if you think you've got a drink problem, you might have because you think you have, right? So if you think that's the point, you go, brilliant, don't worry, everyone thinks about this at some stage, but now don't lose that opportunity.
Mm.
And it's not scary. You haven't got to go to India for 6 months. We're just going to sit down. I'm going to give you some questions to ask. You don't give up. Don't do anything hasty. Don't give up your job. We're going to make sure you look after your family. So it's not like, throw in your job and go and be a shepherd. But let's have a think, because you are allowed to take yourself seriously. And that doesn't mean have tickets on yourself, but you are. How I was brought up, it's embarrassing to care for yourself. Right? You go, what do you mean you want to be happy? It's embarrassing. And if you are happy, anyway, so it's a battle. Our society rewards people. You can get to the top of the tree if you don't do stuff.
And a number of times I have had clients that, I've got this job opportunity to join, become the COO or something. And they go, but what that means is another more hours per week, more time away from my family. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. For fuck's sake, can we just please have someone demonstrate how to be in a top role and drop off the 20% of stuff, or the 20% of things that give you 80% of your issues?
Yes.
It's not going to be an issue. That stuff will not cost you the business. We need more chiefs demonstrating wisdom, proper leadership, not overworking, getting this right.
Now, they are very rare.
Few and far between.
You could send me a list of those people who run major corporations in America, and if that list is longer than 10, I'll send you $10.
Yeah. That's $10 I'm never going to get. I'm just thinking about these moments, the 4 key moments you just mentioned, and I was just thinking about your other podcast, or your podcast, The 5 of My Life, where you ask prominent personalities and they've got to give you their favorite film, book, song, place, and possession. I just think about what that would do from bringing out the sentimentality and the insanely human part of them, that I wonder if that would connect them a bit more to what is the point.
Mate, I am loving this conversation, because you have nailed it. Is what I am doing secret. You're giving away my secrets, right? So when I spoke to the public earlier about my speaking and my books, didn't mention my podcast, but what it actually does under the radar is it's a reflective show. It's evergreen, not timely. It makes people review their life. So it's not their favorite, it's a favorite. It's, I want you to tell 5 stories of your life. And so I've had prime ministers, I've had Oscar winners, I've had Olympic champions, as well as normal people and blah, blah, blah. And I would say in 60, 70% of cases, people say, I've really enjoyed doing this because it made me sit down and reflect. Now, I don't go, yay, that's what I'm trying to do. But that is what I'm trying to do. It's not, my favorite song is Stairway to Heaven. It's, do you know what? I wondered what I would choose, because I want one of those choices to lead to me talking about my kids. So the things that are important percolate up.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think you and I shared in an early conversation. I use the BBC Desert Island Disc process when I go away with boards and exec teams. And we go to a regional area, we put a campfire out. They all send me their 3 songs that they would go to a desert island with for the rest of their life.
Nice.
Interview them like a BBC radio host. So I get a little, portable speaker, and I put a couple of chairs so that, hey, Nigel, come up here and tell me your 3 songs and why you chose them. And they tell the story, 3 stories in a row, and then we play the 3 songs. We're going to hang out for 10, 12 minutes, and we do it again and again. I have never come across a team building exercise that is more powerful. It just glues people together. It makes them realize, why on earth are we here? And the next day, because we always do it on the middle night, the quality of conversation next day is completely different.
I'm so pleased to hear that, mate. That's it's a sideways in route to authenticity and a meaningful conversation. Whereas if you said, tell me your deepest fears, Fiona, she might not. But if you say,
And the interesting thing is, it gets a life of its own in the lead up to it, because they get an email like 4 weeks before. They go for the whole battle of, what 3 songs am I going to choose? And then they all want to know, they all can't wait to hear what each other have picked.
That's it, mate. We are brothers from another mother. That's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah.
We might have already mentioned this, but do you have a personal definition of success?
Ooh. So I reckon something to do, So it's three things: something to do, something to look forward to, someone to love. And that's it. Yeah.
I saw one the other day, which is cool. It was that just if you can be loved by the people that you want to have love you, it's not too bad.
Yeah. So, but another one is I see people being comfortable in your own skin, making a, it's from, since I had my sort of change of life around Fat 40 and Fired, and I've got to be careful because I realize I'm very privileged to have created this life, but I can sort of, it's a bit like having given up drink. I can smell it on people. I can smell it. If you've been on a bender the night before, I can tell you've been hitting the whiskey, which before I never could, right? I can tell when someone is relaxed in her own skin. Yeah. And it's like they're in a job interview or they're their LinkedIn profile rather than hello. You think, God, you're a bit jittery. You're a bit, wow. If you sort some of this stuff out that we're talking about, I think it makes you a better chief because you're just focused on the real stuff. You're not trying to prove anything. You're relaxed about being at the front of the pack, but you're not doing that so people think you're great. So when we chat, it feels like a comfortable, we're chatting. I'm not trying to prove anything or whatever.
No.
That's it's a happiness question. It's people who are just comfortable in their own skin.
So I wrote this book 6 years ago called Chief Maker, the 5-step blueprint to get on an executive team. It's got these steps, right? It starts with purpose and life and this whole journey. But about 4 years later, and I was having a lot of career crossroads discussions, these kind of life balance. Oh my God, what is the point? COVID was the big issue because COVID made everyone go, what am I here for? What all this esoteric kind of moments. And I realized, even though the inner chief is about the inner journey, what we hadn't done was say, how do you get the inner self sorted so you are congruent and you are comfortable in your own skin and you do feel as though this is who I am, warts and all, good parts, bad parts, flawed in every way, but also brilliant in every way.
Yeah.
If you haven't worked that out and done the inner work, we say the outer chief is simply a reflection of the inner chief. And so we actually went back and I added on these 3 little bits. So the original acronym was great, right? 'Cause I like things to be nice and neat. It's a great method, right? We added in I, A, and M. I am great, right? And the I is identity, right? What is my identity? Who am I is before why.
Yep.
Who am I? Then A is all about this, like my overall psychology and what I bring to the table. Like what is this assessment of my attitude, my personality types, and all this kind of stuff. And the M is my story. And these 3 things come together so that I know who I am before I go and try and do this great thing, which sounds wonderful, but it's all very aspirational. But without that, and I look back at it and think, how the hell did I do that? We're forgetting the core part. Oh God, we missed a chunk. Anyway, hey, this has been wonderful, Nigel, and I certainly encourage people, go and check out Nigel's website. We'll put all the links. It's nigelmarsh.com. We've got the book, Fat 40 and Fired. There's multiple books. There's a TED talk. We'll put all the links in the show notes. Don't forget the podcast, A 5 Mile Life. Righto, Chiefs. More from Nigel in a minute. Now, recently, we continued our Best Of series by featuring Rob Patterson, Managing Director of Parkins Lane. We spoke about humility, relationships, and scaling fast and big. Here's what Rob had to say about empowering your staff.
I think the most fundamental success tool for an executive is having a great team. So I think what I would do is I would focus at least 50% of my time on creating, growing and nourishing my team because they're the ones that are going to get you there.
You can listen to that brilliant conversation with Rob Patterson by going to chiefmaker.com/351. And while you're there, you can subscribe to the podcast and check out all the other great interviews with our chiefs and gurus. as well as all the minisodes by going to chiefmaker.com/listen now. Righto, Chief, let's get back to Nigel Marsh. Nigel, some rapid fire questions.
Oh.
Right, to finish off. If you could form the ultimate executive team, right, I know you don't run a big company, you run your own show now, but imagine you did. Any well-known leader from any point of time in history, who are your first 3 picks and why?
Nelson Mandela, CEO for Vision. I'm interviewing David Gonski on my show, and he chose Mandela's audience. I've just finished. And so him is the CEO for the Vision. General Patton, as was...
Who gets his first run? I've never had him before. That is...
Yeah. And that's a reason on purpose, because he's no bullshit. Yeah. Forget all that stuff. Thank you, Nelson. But we need to get up the hill, so I've got to leave this meeting and actually do it. That's how I get it done. And then Akbar the Great, who ran India in the late 1500s, because he was brilliant financially, but also he was very kind.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wow. Okay. What has been the most valuable structured learning program of your career?
Changed my life. I went on a negotiation course.
Oh.
Unbelievable. So fab. It was only a day long. Changed. I did every day of my life.
You remember who it was with?
No, I don't. I've got the leaflet somewhere. But just, proper negotiation. It's not about tricking people or winning. It's a life skill. Just finding out what to negotiate. It's fantastic. Anyway, so negotiation goals.
What is the best advice a mentor has ever given you?
Develop your listening skills. People are shit at listening. They think it means not interrupting. No. If I ask you a question and you talk and I don't interrupt, and then when you've finished, I don't say anything, in 100% of cases, you will start talking again.
That's right.
And that's when you learn the good stuff. And most people never get to the good stuff.
You would have seen that in negotiation. Sure. What is your number one interview question when looking for senior executives to join your team?
Oh, I love it. Just go, tell me about your biggest mistake.
Oh, nice.
And it's fantastic just how they choose to answer that. Oh, I haven't got one, or my biggest fault is I try too hard, or someone, who chooses a mistake that's not really a mistake. You go, it's really, you can just tell if someone said, you know what? No, I moved the company into, overseas and I fucked it up. And this is why I fucked it up, and this is what I learned. So what's your biggest mistake?
Yeah. Can you nominate another chief you hold with great respect? We could have
Andrew Penfold, CEO of AIEF. It's a Aboriginal Indigenous Education Foundation.
Oh, wonderful.
Sensational. So I work with him. It's focused on people crap on about inputs, how hard you've worked. I don't care, Greg. Or they crap on about outputs. Ooh, I've done all these things. I don't care, Greg. He's interested in the outcomes.
Yeah.
What's it achieved? And that's a scary place. If you go, hold on, let's focus on that. So if we want to close the gap, actually, I've sent 9,000 kids through school that have finished year 12.
Yeah.
So how many leaflets I've made or how many talks I've done.
Yeah. Outcomes. Yeah. If you could lead any company in the world, pick the corner office, whatever office you want, what would it be?
Without a shadow of a doubt, the Republican movement in Australia. Because it's run by idiots who have misunderstood the outcome.
Oh my gosh.
I would make us a republic within 2 years because I wouldn't be anti-England. I wouldn't be anti-royal family. I wouldn't want it to be a grass movement. I'd just focus on the outcome, which is, we'll take it from here, lads. And
would you
like to everyone.
Get rid of the polarizing figures at the top, please?
Yes, just the outcome is we'd like to be this. And do you know what? They wouldn't mind if it's done in that way.
Also,
He went, the first person I'd talk to would be King Charles. He'd say, yeah, sure. You go, I love you, Charlie. Would you mind if we'd not, it's a disgrace that we're run by. No, it's not a disgrace. It was how it happened historically. Anyway, so the Republican movement, I'd love to.
What is a final message of wisdom and hope for chiefs around the world?
Okay, well, given I dabble in theology, Mother Teresa, small things done with great love will change the world.
Oh, fantastic. I'm glad you went down the theology route to finish, because I was about to go down a rabbit hole on that before. But hey, Nigel, what an absolute pleasure, mate. I really genuinely enjoyed this discussion. And I sort of feel like there's a can of worms I hope we've opened within a few people. Maybe we'll trigger some people to reflect a bit more about how they're spending this precious life. Thank you again for all your contribution to it. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
No, I really enjoyed it, mate. Thanks for asking me.
Wonderful. Chief, that sums it up for this week. Oh, I can just tell you that Nigel Marsh was just outstanding in the whole lead up to this podcast. The professionalism, the authenticity, the deep sense that I got about his professional mastery and his really humble and authentic journey about personal mastery was just inspiring. Chiefs, I really hope you go and check out more about Nigel. All the links, including his own website and how to engage with him, can be found at chiefmaker.com/352. And if you would like to stay in touch and hear all about some of the best resources you can find anywhere in the world to improve your performance at work, go to chiefmaker.com/subscribe. Now, Chief, if you're yet to rate the episode and subscribe, I hope you'll do so soon. It helps others see the magnificent value that the chiefs and gurus bring to their life and career. So make sure you hit subscribe on your podcast app now, give it a 5-star rating if you think it's worthy, and leave a short review about your favourite episode. Righto, Chiefs, as always, remember to stay